Good evening. Hi there, everybody. Alright, I know a lot of time has gone by, and I'm trying to keep up with making some videos, but I've been extremely busy lately, and it's been kind of chaotic in my house again, mostly due to some noisy neighbors we've had issues with. But thank God this week is the last week of their lease, and they are moving out. So I finally have a reasonable amount of quiet in the house again, and a little more, of the peace I need to get some videos like this done. So I got a lot of requests about this car because I only did a brushing video. I didn't really say anything. And it is kind of an interesting model. This is the first one that I've ever bought from the company Norev. And sadly, there is a slight difference in that none of these body panels open. I have a couple of other DTM cars that at least have access to the hood. And as you can see, it's a solid piece here, so this doesn't come off. But everything else seems to work pretty well, and obviously it's a very beautiful model. Now I think I was mistaken when I wrote the description of this car for the video. You can see it says Schumacher here on the side, and I was actually correct that Michael Schumacher used to race in DTM, but that was before he was in Formula One. It was his brother Ralf who drove this car in 2011 in the DTM series. So, yeah, Ralf Schumacher obviously was still a great driver, not quite as accomplished as his brother Michael, but there's certainly some great laps that are still really fun to watch today, from back in the early 2000s. Back in the days when they had single lap qualifying, so each driver got one shot at doing a qualifying lap, and he had the entire track to himself. And I feel like that was more tension to watch. But back then the Formula One cars were monsters. They still had V10 engines, and they were just incredibly fast. We're not really there today, but I think we're getting there. Next year's regulations call for much wider tires, for one thing, which will make the cars supposedly several seconds a lap quicker. And we'll see how that actually shakes out. But anyway, Ralf Schumacher also raced in DTM after his Formula One career, and actually got the heads up about some sales on models happening by one of my kind viewers. And so I went on the site and grabbed 3 new models, including this one. So, unfortunately I don't have a lot of detail about this car other than the driver, and obviously you can see that it's a Mercedes, I believe it's a C-Class DTM car. But overall, the DTM series, I've heard former drivers talk about these cars as not really like touring cars. They're almost like Formula One cars with fenders. They're very nimble, very light, extremely maneuverable cars. And what little bit of I've been able to watch of the DTM series on my cable service, these cars really do change direction very suddenly, which is really fun to watch, and it certainly gets me excited as a driver. So, sorry about that. I'm bumping into my camera here. I'm trying a new setup as far as where to position these cars and so forth. So yeah. The DTM also seems to be a popular choice for ex-Formula One drivers to continue racing. So again, you know, if the series does maintain a certain, you know, high standard when it comes to handling, good handling of the cars, then that's a natural evolution for an F1 driver. So, now, my real knowledge, if you could call it that, or experience, again, if you could call it that, was started from playing games like Gran Turismo. And in that game you certainly notice that these cars don't have the most horsepower or the highest top speed, but when it comes to cornering ability, they're pretty amazing. So, unfortunately, Gran Turismo doesn't always get the engine noise quite that accurate. Some of these cars over the years changed as the regulations dictated different engines. Sometimes they had V6s. Other times they were running V8 engines. If you really want to enjoy some what we love to call aural pleasure, aural, A-U-R, if you can find videos on YouTube of former DTM cars that are running Judd V8 engines, that is one of the best sounding V8 engine noises you'll ever hear. I don't know enough about the actual engineering of an engine to be able to tell why a certain engine tone has, you know, one kind of tone or another. The only thing I've recently learned is that if you get a perfect octave coming out of a V8 engine, then there's something to do with the perfect opposition of the cylinders and the exhausts. I'm not sure exactly. It was something to do with the angle. I forget now, but yeah. As far as some of the other tones that the engine makes, different components, I haven't quite learned that. It's something I've been searching for. It just doesn't seem like there are a lot of car nuts out there who are also musicians to the extent that they'd be able to put the extensive knowledge of engines together with the sound that it makes. in a musical sense. I don't know, I'm still searching for that. I'm sure it's out there somewhere. So, alright. So I wanted to show all three of these cars. So that's the one from 2011 that I have. I also thought it was time to have another look at a car that is still one of my most popular videos, which is the 2000 DTM Mercedes CLK car. And as you can see, this car, the livery has these lovely D2 logos spread all over the car. So I had quite a lot of fun brushing each individual D2 logo. And but the other thing I suspect might make that video a little more popular is that this particular car, is actually in the game Gran Turismo. And it's very, very enjoyable to drive because the handling is so amazingly good. It's like driving on rails. And you can change your driving style practically because you can attack corners so aggressively and the car will just stick and do what you tell it to. So it makes it a lot of exciting driving, and I've certainly done many laps in this car of the Nürburgring Nordschleife. So, you can see here maybe you can't from this angle. The driver was Bernd Schneider. This was one of his many championship winning cars. I think he has 5 total in the DTM. And I believe this is also the year 2000 was the year that DTM went back to using V8 engines or whatever. Now, they were using a V6 before, and they went to V8s in 2000. I can imagine that that should have given them a more powerful feel. Usually the regulations try to achieve some sort of consistency. They're going for a certain power to weight ratio, so they'll kind of determine about how much the car has to weigh and also how much power it can make, and they do that by limiting the power output in various ways. They can either limit the size of the engine or limit the maximum RPM that's allowed. You can you can do the NASCAR method by putting a restrictor on, which just keeps. I think the restrictor is on the air intake. Keeps it from. There's a certain diameter that keeps it from allowing more than a certain amount of combustion to take place. But yeah, I always like it when they just specify one thing and allow the engineers and the teams to pursue any slight edge that they can find. And I find it kind of counterproductive to put too many restrictions on the development of the cars, because otherwise you just end up with a spec series, and you might as well just have everybody driving exactly the same car, which to me is cool, but there's already plenty of series that are that. And the more I see some of the top series like Formula One becoming more like a spec series, it's a little disappointing, just because it's supposed to be, you know, it's a team sport as much as it's an individual sport. So, and the teams do, you know, have varying amounts of money, and that's always the way it's been. And there's GP2 if you want to see cars that are almost identical race against each other. So, now I think I'm rambling a little bit. But yeah, here's car number 2. And I'll show you. There we go. This is the part that I was talking about, where you could open up the engine bay. Got these great little bits here. Even bits of metal, the springs of the suspension, those are metal. So the detail on here is pretty amazing, considering that this wasn't an expensive model at all. So, yeah. Forget the brand name on this one. Maisto. Yeah, Maisto. Well, there you go. Maisto's quality has just improved over the years to the point where you get ridiculous value for what you're paying. This, you know, this is just one example of many. And this one, now, I have to say, I've been very ignorant about this car, because when I bought it, I just thought it looked cool. And even when I made the first brushing video of it, the whole idea was just, hey, here's a black ATM, or DTM car, DTM car, that, you know, has AMG logos, of course, but what I didn't see until today, look at who that is. Right there. Yeah. That's John Alesi. John Alesi is a very versatile driver. Really nice guy, you know. I have it on good account from the former owner of the karting track that I raced at. He said John Alesi was the kind of guy that he wouldn't even expect you to know that he was a racing driver. And he just, you know, unassumingly introduced himself to you if you ever met him, and he's just a very nice guy, you know. But also just, you know, a really good driver. So yeah, here he is, and this is a 2002 DTM car from Mercedes. And as I was saying about Maisto, look at that. In this one, the door's opened. The door's open, and of course, so does the front. There we go. There's a trick to it, I know. Yeah, look at all that. Just amazing. Got even a little Mobile One logo right here. Look at that. I love this detail in here. It's amazing. what's really fun is always just to see how connected the front wheels are to the steering wheel inside the cockpit. Sad to say this one doesn't move back and forth very much, but it does move. It is connected. So, since this one opens, I'm going to see if I can actually get you a nice view inside. There you go, maybe. Here, let's see what we can do with this. It amazes me how much you can see. Like, you can see the pedals, you can see this weird way that in order to get the best weight distribution, the driver sits very far back here, and the steering column is very long. See this right here? This long steering column. Oh, there we go. Yeah. It's pretty funny. And I don't know if there's much else to see inside, but yeah, I think that's really funny. So, but hey, as a driver, when you're inside a machine, and as long as your visibility is still good and the handling is good, then, you know, it's not going to feel strange to you. You just kind of get in, and it becomes another part of your body in a way. I mean, at least my feelings from driving the cars like these in the games like Gran Turismo, but certainly from driving, you know, race cars in real life. The first time you get in one and drive it around a track, and you just notice how direct the inputs are. I mean, it's like you think where you want the car to go, and it just goes there. And you get this aha moment, like, wow, this is how a car should drive. You know, this is how a car should respond. And you wonder what you've been doing all your life in road cars that, you know, are so soft and you know, so lazy in doing what you tell them to do, although they've certainly improved over the years. But I mean, it's all relative anyway. I mean, what you're used to, but yeah, I definitely would encourage pretty much anyone to at least spend a half day, or maybe even a full day, at a racing school. In fact, the one I went to, Bertil Roos, they now have a GT racing class using race-prepared Mustangs. So if you're maybe a little intimidated by the single-seaters, you can try something that's a little closer to what you'd probably drive, you know, could drive on the street. But what you learn in racing school about handling and just, you know, it'll change your life. It'll change everything about the way you drive. And the feeling of control and confidence that you'll get is really worth it. Even if you don't plan to be an actual racing driver, even one track day will really open your eyes. So, all right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to try very hard to get through all of the other requests. I certainly have all of anything I ever receive as comments in YouTube videos. I do get email notifications for those, and I try to keep them in my inbox until I actually make videos of the requests. So, yeah, just thank you all for your patience and sticking with me, and even though I sometimes take longer to make videos than I would like. You know, it's always my intention to keep the commenters happy and keep the content coming. So, yeah. There. Alright. I do a special like for this one just because of the black and carbon fiber look. I like it very much. But yeah. Alright. Well, again, hope you've enjoyed this, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Alright? Good night.